The NATO General Secretary, in a major speech this week, talked about the structural changes needed by people of NATO member nations. Mark Rutte told security experts and analysts at the Carnegie Europe think tank in Brussels that it is time to shift to a wartime mindset. Russia is preparing for long-term confrontation with Ukraine and with us. What is happening in Ukraine could happen here too. And regardless of the outcome of this war, we will not be safe in the future unless we are prepared to deal with danger. The NATO Secretary General appealed to governments to provide the defense industry with the big orders and long-term contracts they need to rapidly produce more and better capabilities. The NATO Secretary General's message was Russia will try to conquer Europe. Even though it's never attempted such a thing, it does not have the resources or capabilities needed to try and undertake such a bold move today. As such, presenting Russia as a mortal threat is a political choice to drive a mindset change across Europe. Rutte's ambition is for Europe to spend another 50% on defense than it does today. He called upon the citizens of NATO member states to accept to make sacrifices, such as cuts to their pensions, health, and social security systems in order to boost defense spending. Rutte's speech addressed the European populace directly when he said that they should tell their banks and pension funds that it is simply unacceptable that they refuse to invest in the defense industry. What this all means is that the drums of war are beating loudly. There is a consensus among Western political elites already that military escalation is the right path forward. Now, the wider society is being made mentally ready for the changes this entails. The peacetime dividend after the Cold War is now officially over. The Telegraph has reported the U.S. had foreknowledge of the offensive led by Hayat Tahrir al-Sham that ousted former Syrian President Bashar al-Assad. The report said the U.S. notified the Revolutionary Commando Army, a U.S.-funded militia based out of a U.S. base at al-Tanf in southern Syria, to be ready for an attack that could lead to the end of Assad's rule. In October, the U.S. brought several other Sunni Muslim militias under the command of the RCA, swelling the force from 800 fighters to about 3,000. All of the fighters were armed by the U.S., and the U.S. pays their salaries of $400 per month. Bashar al-Mashadani, an RCA commander, told the Telegraph the RCA and HTS were cooperating during the offensive and that the U.S. coordinated the communication between the two groups from al-Tanf. RCA members said the U.S. told them about the opportunity to overthrow Assad in early November, about 3 weeks before the offensive started. Mashadani said the U.S. wanted his group to capture territory to keep it out of the hands of ISIS, which RCA has helped the U.S. fight in the past. It would therefore be only one of many ironies that the U.S. has been in an effective alliance with a group like HTS, which was an al-Qaeda affiliate in Syria until it broke away in 2017. The U.S. has imposed new sanctions on Pakistan's missile program as Pakistan is apparently developing long-range ballistic missile capabilities that eventually could allow it to strike targets well beyond South Asia, making it an emerging threat to the United States. Deputy National Security Advisor John Finer's surprise revelation underscored how far the once close ties between Washington and Islamabad have deteriorated since the 2021 U.S. troop withdrawal from Afghanistan. Speaking to the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, Finer said Pakistan has pursued increasingly sophisticated missile technology, from long-range ballistic missile systems to equipment that would enable the testing of significantly larger rocket motors. His speech came a day after Washington announced a new round of sanctions related to Pakistan's ballistic missile development program, including for the first time against the state-run defense agency that oversees the program. Pakistan's missile program doesn't rely on the U.S. and is largely self-sufficient, with some components developed with Chinese help. The sanctions will have little impact, as none of the supply chain relies on Western companies. The U.S. has for long used sanctions to shape Islamabad's behavior. Despite the cooperation between both nations, the U.S. uses a variety of tools to keep Pakistan in check.